It's only 1 week until Halloween, and like a perfectly well-adjusted person, I've already got all my favourite horror films lined up in a row for a rigorous 7-day binge-watching extravaganza. Okay, that might just be a me thing, but I'm sure plenty of you out there have your own Halloween rituals that you'll soon be observing. It's a really fun time of the year, and aside from the spooky film indulgences, I always feel that the cold autumn weather lends itself well to a cosy night in, focusing on some hands-on creative work. So what better time to look into writing a horror story?
How do you like it?
In the last few videos, we've talked a lot about character, and we've talked a lot about storytelling motivation. So in today's video, we're going to get a little bit more technical. We're going to break down how a scary story works, what you can and can't do within the tighter genre structure, and what the upsides are to using horror as a sinister playground to really develop your writing technique. All of storytelling is about evoking emotion in the audience. In a story, you can have all the interesting dramatical tidbits and technical filmmaking flourishes that you want, but without emotion, none of it will land and none of it will be worthwhile. It's not highbrow to be above this fact. The more pretentious writers may protest, but at the end of the day, I think it's both humbling and liberating to remember that we're simply just entertainers, and our job is to give the audience all of the thrill and excitement that they crave and lack in their personal lives. Horror is very specific in the type of entertainment that it wants to deliver. Horror wants you to feel afraid. Horror wants to milk every last bit of fear out of the audience and push their emotional intensity to the absolute limit.
Tasty, tasty, beautiful fear.
Because of this, as a beginning writer, the horror genre is a perfect workshop for sharpening up all your creative tools. The best scary stories are short and self-contained,
despite the unfortunate Hollywood trend for multiple spin-offs.
And the genre demands that you set solid rules and stick closely to the classical 3-arc structure, which, in short, is setup, conflict, and resolution. In the first act of your story, you'll need to set up sympathetic characters that the audience can both feel concern for and see themselves as. Their traits and relationships need to be strongly defined, because they need to be able to support varying degrees of audience distance in order to pull off different types of scares in the second and third acts. Let me explain what I mean by that with a couple of different examples. For some scares later on, you'll want the audience to know more than the character, so that when they see someone they care about getting into a dangerous situation, they can feel a paternal fear on the character's behalf. The classic scenario for the paternal fear would be a character descending into a scary basement that the audience already knows is a dangerous place.
Yeah, as a kid, the basement is scary. As an adult, the basement is scary.
Or, to give a more specific scene example, moments like this from the film It, where the young character Georgie tries to retrieve his toy boat from the super trustworthy sewer clown.
Can you smell the circus, Georgie?
Okay.
Yeah, don't get close to don't. Ah! Oh! Holy shit! What the f?
That's one type of scare that's informed by the audience's protective relationship to the character. But for many other types, you'll want the character to be a literal proxy for the audience member themselves. For that, you need them to feel like they themselves are present in the scene, facing the exact same mortal danger as the character you've attached them to. This way, when the scare happens to the character, it's also happening directly to the audience.
Oh shit.
Oh god.
Just unplug it.
Yeah, turn it the f off.
Holy shit!
The best horror stories are really dynamic when it comes to things like this, so I recommend changing up these scare types throughout the story, bringing the audience in closer or keeping them on the outside as you see fit. You can deliver both of these scare types through the one character, or you can separate them across different characters. Either way, you just have to make sure that the audience has enough relevant emotional investment in the character or characters for the sense of peril to have the appropriate impact.
What the f? But that was his brother, right? That was the I don't like this.
You will do.
Oh my god. Oh my god. No!
That was awesome.
So characters and relationships are something you need to really nail down in your first act, but it's not the only thing you need to focus on at that time. You'll also need to set up another key ingredient that's vital for the rest of the film: tone. In a horror film, tone is of equal importance to character, and in some films, like The Shining, it can actually take precedence over the characters.
How's it going?
Effectively establishing tone can be a delicate thing. You need to have a clear idea of the emotional state you want your audience to sit in, and then you need to have firm control of the levers behind the scenes to accurately manufacture the effect. In short, you need to learn emotional manipulation, and as far as practice goes, the horror genre is the best place to learn this. Unlike in drama, it's hard to go too far with manipulation in a horror film. The audience knows what you're going to do with them going in, and it's really the main part of the draw for them. They want you to scare them, and they want to feel lots of intense emotion. So give them plenty of what they want, and they'll go home satisfied.
Great party, isn't it?
When it comes to which emotional tone to pick, you can't go wrong with some of the old genre standards. In a horror film, the most common tones include feelings like dread, confusion, paranoia, and anxiety. These 4 states are great staging ground for a scare because they all put the audience in a vulnerable and suggestible mindset, making them highly susceptible to external stimulation.
Oh god, this movie!
Yeah. On a scale of 1 to 10, how stressed are you?
I'm gonna barf. 9, 8. I'm fine. Everything's fine.
See?
F off. No! 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 No!
Tone is established through a combination of setting and character interaction, but within those categories there are a million different ways to get to the end point. Get Out is a film that establishes tone in an interesting way, by playing on audience preconceptions regarding some of the more socially taboo aspects of race relations.
I know what you're thinking.
What?
White family? Black servants? I hate the way it looks. By the way, I would have voted for Obama for a 3rd term if I could.
Get Out follows the experience of the main character Chris, a young black photographer who's about to meet his white girlfriend's family for the very first time. Before they leave for the weekend, Chris asks the following question,
Do they know I'm black?
which straight away taps into the real life discomforts and very simply sets up the tone for the rest of the film. From here on out, the tone is developed by exposing Chris and the audience to the increasingly bizarre and apparently racially motivated behaviour exhibited by each new character that we're introduced to.
Oh, not bad. Is it true? Is it better?
Well, black is in fashion.
The setting of the country house plays into this too. Chris is clearly out of his element in this remote and fancy location, and everything about the surroundings seems designed to enhance both his and the audience's sense of isolation and paranoia. The subtext does a lot of the heavy lifting here. The racial tension fluctuates from slightly awkward to very inappropriate, but not having it explicitly stated really plays into the uncomfortable feeling that the filmmaker wants us to have, and it sets up the horrifying reveals that come later on in the second act of the movie.
Become my sanctuary. Get out.
Yo, shoot me! Get out! Shoot me!
Character and tone make up just 2 of the 3 fundamental building blocks of good horror, but the third is perhaps the most important for taking your writing to the next level. This all-important third facet is pacing.
What you're about to see may disturb you.
It's behind!
In your role as a writer, you'll need to draw on all of your skill and timing to wring out the perfect emotional experience for your audience. You need to turn up and fade down the emotional stakes of your scenes at just the right moments in order to slowly build up the intensity towards an awesome, terrifying, and powerful climax.
I'm waiting.
Now, don't worry if this sounds suspiciously erotic to you. It's not just your dirty mind. The whole process in action is literally bastardized foreplay. And funnily enough, the horror genre has a long and storied tradition in cinemas around the world for being Ideal date fodder for both inexperienced teenagers and married couples alike.
Are you teasing me? I'm sorry, I don't see what you're talking about.
Can we go?
Fear, thrill, and intense emotional excitement make for powerful aphrodisiacs, so take that in stride and use it to your advantage whenever you can in your storytelling. Like I said at the start, we're not highbrow here. You can mix sex and horror directly, or you can turn the connection on its head in order to really mess with people. Both are valid options and both have been used to great effect in many classic horror films. So use all of your imagination and don't be afraid to get a little dirty with the cheap thrills every now and again. Anyway, back to pacing. In order to perfect pacing as a skill set, you'll need to master two great storytelling arts, the art of suspense and the art of anticipation. The great filmmaker Alfred Hitchcock described suspense in the following way.
4 people are sitting around a table. Suddenly, a bomb goes off. What do the audience have? 10 seconds of shock. Now take the same scene and tell the audience there is a bomb under that table and will go off in 5 minutes. But the whole emotion of the audience is totally different because you've given them that information that in 5 minutes' time that bomb will go off. Now the only difference is the bomb must never go off. You work that audience into a state. So a foot touches the bomb, somebody looks down and says, my God, a bomb. Out of the window, then it goes off. Just in time.
Now, I can't offer a better definition than this, but what I can say is that in horror films, suspense is best utilised when you're dealing with longer term emotional investments. Mainly things that are going to happen towards the end of your story.
Mom, is Dad gonna kill us? We're just gonna have to wait and see.
Suspense gets the audience wondering what's going to happen later, which means the longer you can hold them in this state, the more satisfying the payoffs will be towards the end of the story. But once again, you'll need to mix things up. A film where you're just waiting for hours for 1 or 2 big things to happen may be okay for some genres, but for horror you're going to want to mitigate the potential frustration by working in some short-term scares too. This is where anticipation comes in. If suspense is about what's coming later, anticipation is about what's going to happen now. Anticipation is utilised as a swift and familiar build-up pattern that requires little setup, actively draws in the audience's attention, and only delays the inevitable long enough for the pressure to reach the first 1 or 2 marks on the gauge. From this point, you can either choose to explode into a quick and punchy instant payoff.
Okay.
There's no breeze! It could be any one of these tunnels! Take your pick!
Oh, that was cool.
Or you can go the other way and deliver a fake out, which gives the audience a false scare, prevents the accumulated tension from being fully released, and continues building the emotional payload for later on in the story.
Oh, is this gonna be the kid? It's gonna... Oh, or her.
Yeah.
Or
Or
any-
literally,
okay.
yeah, or literally anyone, just not the dog.
Damn you, Spielberg, I know what you're doing now.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
What it, oh.
Oh.
No. That's twice. They got me twice.
So anticipation works in a similar way to suspense, just on a much more compressed timescale, and you'll need a mix of both if you really want to play with the tension in your story.
What was that?
That, oh, yeah.
No!
That was a lot of red.
Holy shit!
Okay, now you've learned both of these arts of pace manipulation, you can really start to focus on the content of the scares you deliver. But for many beginners, this is easier said than done. What type of fears should you be exploiting in order to create the best effects? You can use your own personal fears, of course, but I find that for amateur writers, you can't go far wrong by simply utilising primal fears, provided you build up and execute them in the correct way using the setup and pacing techniques we've already covered.
Come on, baby.
Primal fears are the deepest rooted, universally human fears. They are strongly linked to our evolutionary biology and our innate survival instincts. As a quick and incomplete rundown, primal fears comprise things like darkness, blood and gore, dead bodies, fire, loud sounds, sudden movements, snakes and spiders, monsters and giants, and being eaten alive as prey. Primal fears create the most instantly evocative danger responses, and they are pretty reliably disturbing. But you can also mix and complicate them with higher level social fears, like abandonment, humiliation, domination, or failure.
Game over.
You can also mix things up even more by combining the emotion of fear itself with other emotional flavours, further disturbing your audience and creating a more visceral reaction. Many horror films have used a particularly effective recipe of blending terror with disgust, and I think this combination works really well, especially in classic body horror films like Alien.
Just popped.
But after all is said and done, by the time you come to the end of your story, you'll probably want to give the audience a bit of a cool down. In the final act, it can be really rewarding to bring in some feelings of catharsis for the audience, either through the completion of satisfying character development or through comprehensive plot or theme resolution. Relief, clarity and gratitude are wonderfully complementary counter-emotions for all the terror and worry you've just put your viewers through. But of course you could decide to be a complete sadist and end the film on an even grimmer note to dig one last needle into your audience's psyche. I said at the start of this video that horror is the perfect starting off ground for new writers, and I really believe that. If you have any interest in writing or storytelling as a hobby, then I think it would be really worthwhile to try out some of the techniques we've talked about today. Have a go at writing something scary this month, even if it's just something short to flex your creative muscles. Horror is a risk-free genre to experiment in. It's generally not something that's taken too seriously, so use it as a safe zone to write to your heart's content without fear of being judged. Funnily enough, in our current age, the people who tend to judge most and who look for offence and everything have a bit of a blind spot when it comes to these types of stories, especially when compared to things like comedy. My hunch is that such people are permanent neurotics, addicted to negative emotion, so pumping them full of fear and misery is much more satiating to them than trying to provoke something positive. Just a little Halloween advice there for keeping those pesky emotional vampires away from your door.
Well, what do you think?
Maybe I like the misery.
Right then folks, that's about all I have to say on this topic for now. I hope I didn't come across like too much of a psycho with some of the advice I gave in this video, but if I did, well, let's just pretend it was all part of the theme, okay? Before I finish up, I want to say a big thank you to all of you for watching the video, and an even bigger thank you to my subscribers, who always play a big part in motivating me to continue. If you'd like to become a subscriber yourself, please click the button in the bottom right of your screen to stay in the loop for all of my upcoming videos. I also want to give a special thank you to George and Simone from Cinebinge, who kindly gave their blessing for the reaction shots to be used in this video. I've got their channel linked in the description if you'd like to check them out. In the meantime, if you like this video, please click the like button and head down to the comments section to join in on the conversation. Anyway folks, that's all I've got for today. Thanks again, and I hope you have a great Halloween when it comes.